Going on, everybody? It's your boy D from DNC Digital, back with another episode of DNC Radio. I want to thank you guys for listening. I want to thank you guys for being here with me. This episode is going to be cool, man, because ever since I was a kid, I strongly believed in all the paranormal. And I'm sure a lot of people out there do. Most of the people out there, I feel, have all had experiences with the paranormal. Any sound that's unexplained or any, figure that you've seen that you couldn't tell what the hell it was, we've all had that experience. So today I have Greg Ludwig, and Greg Ludwig is an author of the paranormal. He's an engineer, but he also loves the paranormal stuff. He also had the opportunity of appearing on an episode of Ghost Adventures. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his book, his upcoming book, and all the experiences that he's had. And I'm going to ask him questions too, because there's some things that happened to me that I'm not sure what it is. So with his experience, maybe we can get some answers. Mr. Ludwig, welcome to the show, sir.
How you doing, D?
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing the show. This is awesome. This is a touchy subject, but it's a subject that it always stimulates conversation, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So let's start from the beginning. I know you've done a lot of stuff, but I want to know why you got so interested in, romanticized with this type of, subject in the world. What did you have an experience when you were a kid, or how did it start?
Yeah. I am a paranormal investigator. And that does come from a long history back, and probably back to the age of, to be honest with you, 12 years old, and had a couple interesting experiences as a kid. There's a certain, like a strange, I don't even know what you would call it, a spiritual like game. It's called, what is it? Light as a feather. Oh, criminy, I can't even think right now. But basically, it's a game where everybody puts, one person's laying down on the ground and everybody puts their, two fingers of each hand underneath the person, and everybody surrounds them, and what happens is everybody tells a piece of a story, and then the next person tells that piece, plus they add to the story, and by the time you get to the last person, see what's supposed to happen, right? You're basically telling the story of that person that's laying on the ground, how they died. And here we are as kids doing this, right? At my best friend's house, a bunch of us were over there, we're doing this. And Brett, my best buddy, goes and he lights a candle, says, "Oh yeah, you're supposed to light a candle." And we're all doing this thing, right? And I grew up in Burbank, California, and I lived. There were train tracks over along Van Owen Street and the Burbank Airport. All the planes flew overhead, and there was a lot of noise in the area. And interestingly, while we were doing this little game, it was quiet out. There were no noises. And we got about halfway through the people, and suddenly you hear the wind chimes outside. And there was no wind that night, but all of a sudden everybody's wind chimes. We live in these triplexes, okay? And all the wind chimes, everybody had wind chimes back then. They're all spinning like crazy. And at the same time, a train comes barreling through, and a plane comes right overhead. All these things at the same time. And right then, I kid you not, my sister was the one that was laying on the ground, okay? She lifted off of the ground, and I can't tell you how much, 6 inches or whatever. I kid you not, that flame from the candle shot up. And at that very moment, Brett's dad and mom came home. They were on a date, okay? And the dad decided at that very moment, and this is what's really strange, he jumped in the window, which was open. There wasn't air conditioning. We just let cool air in from outside. He jumped in the window, screamed at us. This all happened at the very same time. Everybody saw him differently, different color, red, blue, green, but they all saw one thing about the dude. He had a devilish face. So when I'm gonna look this up because, man, I'm so frustrated right now. Give me just a quick second.
Oh, yeah, I mean that all of that happened.
Light as a feather. light as a feather, stiff as a board. That's what it's called.
Okay.
And so in theory, what is supposed to happen is exactly what happened. She lifted off of the ground. But the thing is, all the other crazy things that happened. So this is just a story, right? But I have, in all of my stories, almost all of my experiences, I don't want to say story, all my experiences, there are other people that can collaborate it. And that's the crazy thing. My buddy Brett, my buddy Dave, my sister, Brett's sister, we all can remember that day when I was a kid. So I like to say that spirit realm, that world, they know me. And they know me from back then, from those experiences. And I think so it was just inevitable that at some point we were going to connect, in a sense, you know.
So with an experience like that, though, a lot of people would be scared to ever try something like that again. Now, a lot of people, myself, I've had experiences when I was young, and for me, it became fascinating. But for other people, it could scare them into not ever trying that again. What was it about that experience that you told yourself, I need to find out more?
Well, you know what? Through the years, I've had various experiences. I mean, even before I really got into deep into this, investigating. Before Ghost Adventures and all that, I had experiences. So I've always been very open to it, intuitive to it. I had an experience, I guess about 10 years ago at UCLA. I was doing work at night, and I would go out and do inspections and to make sure that they're doing the work the way we've engineered it. And so that was a job that they did, that they had to work on graveyard, just because of the day. There's a lot going on. And it's funny because when I went to the job, the superintendent told me that they were having a difficult time. He was having a difficult time getting productivity out of his manpower. And he told me because all of his labor workers refused to work by themselves. In fact, they all wanted to work together as a group because they were scared to death of this place. And it was an old medical building at UCLA, and they were refurbishing it into classroom-type medical classrooms. And so I kept my eyes open, and it was pretty eerie down there in the basement, it was kind of crazy. But up on the third floor, there's a little cafeteria area, and it's closed, but you can go in and use the vending machines. And I kid you not, I walk in there to get this cup of coffee. It made a great little cup of coffee with cream. It was good. And at 3 a.m, man, that hit the spot. So I go in there, and there's a woman sitting at the very back table reading a book. She was dressed in black, dark hair. And I, when I walked in, I just said, hello, just so she knew I was there. No response to me. And I got my coffee, and right as I'm getting my coffee, there's a guy that walks down the hall right past, because it was open, open doorway. And I said, hey, what's up? He said, hey, what's up? So I grabbed my coffee, and I turn around, and she's not there. And she didn't walk past me. And I thought, well, shoot, I'll be darned, man, what's going on? And I went over, and there was a door back there, and I checked the door, and it was locked. And the chair that she was sitting in, man, it was right up against the table. And I said, well, shoot, isn't that something, And it was like, and with everything that had been going on with all the guys, it was like, I kind of said, yeah, well, go figure. And the next day I went in there and I saw a janitor, and that room, that door, it was just a little closet, that held some janitorial supplies. It was nothing. It wasn't a way in or out, man. So it's one of two things. My mind's playing tricks on me that night. It's early in the morning. I needed a cup of coffee, or two, I saw an apparition there. And that's a facility that, like I said, used to be a hospital facility. So certainly many thousands of people have passed away there. Anyway, that was just cool. And I've had these experiences through the years, one at Doheny Mansion up in Beverly Hills. These sort of things that have happened have always kind of been with me. I've always been aware of them. And then I heard that Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures, right? The dude's going to be opening up a museum in Las Vegas. So Las Vegas, that's my place. Okay, love going there. All right. Bobby Flay's Mesa Grill. If you go there, that's where you need to go eat. So I went there and I said, I knew this museum wasn't even open yet, but I just, I liked the show. My daughter was a fan. She was off on her honeymoon. So I said, you know what? Hey, you guys, man, let's drive by there. So we went over to, we went to couple different places, the World of Cokes. We went over to the Stratosphere and did a couple of the rides. Then we went over to the museum and got out, and it was nothing. It was kind of some crazy things there, He had a tree there, which later was coined the clown tree by me, I guess, and had these clown dolls, cloth clown dolls in it, and you could see that on my Facebook. But anyway, we took a couple of these pictures, left, and it was about exact minutes. I think it was 2:53, I believe, and we bailed out of there. Well, it was 2:53 when I took the picture. Okay.
Right.
And so, we went back to the Mandalay Bay where we stay, and had dinner. I went out. I gambled a little bit, a little vodka and cranberry, whatever. And they all went to bed, and so I came in a little late, laid down, and son of a gun, I got a notice on my phone, right? You probably saw this in the episode. I talked about it, right? I had a notice on my.
This is probably an interesting thing, and it connected you to the museum. And go on.
Yeah. So I got an alert, right? And it was a Facebook alert, and it said, "Your friends like the picture you post on Facebook." And here's the problem: I don't post stuff on Facebook. Okay, I'm trying to keep my mouth clean here. I don't post stuff on Facebook. If I ever do, it's very conservative. Like I know I did post a couple pictures of my daughter's wedding, okay? But otherwise, no, I don't even post on Facebook, let alone strange things. And it said, and these two guys I haven't talked to in 25 years like the picture I post on Facebook. I said, okay, so what's that? And I click on it, and son of a gun, it's the picture of that clown tree with the dolls in it. And it has that caption that says, what's that?
But posted. You weren't the one that posted it.
Right, I didn't post a thing. And it had the caption that said, "You can call it." All right. So I literally couldn't believe that, and I tossed that phone aside to the bed. And right about then, my wife, she got up to get a drink of water. And here's something that we don't talk about in the episode, but all of a sudden, the door handle to our hotel room shook violently. So violently that my wife said, she gasped and said, "Someone's trying to break into our room." And I went, shh, hold on. And it was just boom, 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 boom. And then it stopped, okay? And then there wasn't another sound. There was nobody talking in the hall. There were no other doors that opened and closed. There was nothing but silence. And so we went to bed freaked out. And I believe on that day, probably, if you want to believe this stuff, probably something followed me there. And the amazing thing about, in fact, you can see up here in the corner, that's the ghost phone. That's the phone that, you see it up there? That's the phone that's the phone that this all happened on. And what I did with that phone is I saved the original photo, and I saved the Facebook photo, and I cleared everything else out, and I took the SIM card out. So in a sense, those two pictures are entombed in that phone by themselves. Right. And so anyway, that was a pretty crazy experience. That led me to want to tell the Zach Bagans dude what happened.
So now when you think about the doorknob going nuts, a skeptic can just tell you maybe it was a drunk dude coming back from gambling, grabbing the wrong room. Is there any moment in all your experiences that you do have to look at the other side, or is it your intuition, as you say so, that immediately makes you think it's a paranormal experience?
The only reason I looked, I could say I did look at the other side because I listened very closely. I went up to the door. I listened very closely, and there were no sounds, no footsteps, nobody in the hall, no doors, no nothing, no people talking, and listen, it could have been that, okay, and I could have posted that picture on my Facebook, right? But there's one problem. I did not, and I would not have. If you look on my Facebook now, you'll still see I don't post on it. I post on Instagram, okay? But I don't on Facebook, and I wouldn't have posted that on my Facebook, period, because it was weird. I'm not going to do that. But when it happened, okay, I knew that dude needed to know, because that shit gave a little credibility to his museum, And I sent him a direct message, nothing. But then all of a sudden my daughter tells me that they're having a contest, And I went, really? And I look at this, and it says, yeah, hey, submit a 1-minute video for an opportunity to be a guest at this dude's museum, right? So I'm like,
for kicks. I mean, you just did it for kicks. I can't imagine you thinking, I'm gonna get to that episode. I'm gonna be chosen. How did you feel with the response that you got when you did post your video?
Well, it was pretty cool because the video just said, hey, explain to him what happened. That's it. And all I wanted was for the dude just to see it. I didn't need to be on the show. I got a career. I'm busy. I didn't need to be on the show. But I just wanted the dude to see it. So my daughter, they announced the top 20, right? My daughter's, Dad, they announced the top 20. And she's thumbing through it. Dang, I wasn't one of the top 20. I'm like, oh, man, what a bummer, Oh, well, But then she says, but wait, Dad, there's only 16 here. And she thumbs it one more time, and son of a gun, man, there was my ugly mug. I'm one of the top 20, right? So I was excited just solely because I wanted, and now I know the dude saw what happened. And that's all I cared about, And so the next day, man, I get a freaking message through Messenger from the executive producer, a guy named Corey Lyon. He's a good guy. And son of a gun says, hey, Greg, man, you won the contest. Give me a call, would you? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, shit. I couldn't believe that crap. So I called up, and sure enough, So we go down, and we it was delayed a day because there was another woman that had won, and she was giving them a bunch of trouble, I guess. So, they couldn't get her on a plane. So they had to do some adjustments, and they brought somebody else in as another winner, sort of, And so anyway, the girl that was on there, she, me and Marty, who's a good buddy of mine, Marty McCloskey, was the younger guy on there. They were, we were both winners. There was another woman, and so she kind of came in as a alternate. But anyway, so yeah, it was a cool night. I can tell you wild things happened that night, things I can't explain. They featured the part of me in front of that Bela Lugosi's mirror.
Yeah,
but there were
something. I'll cut you off, but something made you go to that mirror. Are you a fan of Bela Lugosi, or was there something, an unspoken of energy that gravitated you toward that mirror?
Well, I think when you go into that room, you automatically, that was the featured item in that room. So me and Moonbeam is what she likes to be called. We both wanted to go there, so we automatically went over there and we moved the thing. And I'll tell you what I saw. What threw me off, what was weird, was it was like waves in that mirror. And it was like a riptide wanting to pull you in. And that's why I stepped away. And I said, no, I'm not going to let you do that to me, because it was trying to pull me into that mirror, in a sense, for whatever way it's going to do. It's trying to manipulate me. And Alex is the girl. She likes to be called Moonbeam. She something came at her too and freaked her out, and so I was drawn to that. But I spent time with Peggy the doll. I spent 20 minutes alone in the pitch dark with the Dybeck box. Zach put me in there.
Yeah, about the box, how did that go?
Well, it's weird because they didn't show that part. I thought they would have, but they didn't. Maybe they just didn't have good camera footage, because what happened was he didn't have any intention of anybody going in there. And then during the intro, one of the things that he had said to us was that that they had opened the box earlier that week. And I said to him, "You did what?" And he looks at me and I said, "You opened the box?" And he says, hold on just 1 minute. Hold on. He gets all excited and he runs out. And I think what he did was he went out and said, "Hey, you guys, get a camera set up in the Dybeck box room. I'm putting this dude in there." And so at some point, well into the night, had a few experiences already, he brought me over and put me inside with the Dybeck box. Close the door. And I'm like, holy.
Yeah, fun, but
yeah. Yeah, dude. So it was pitch dark in that room. Okay. I could see the little light of one of their cameras. Other than that, I couldn't see a thing. I was almost afraid to move because my eyes weren't adjusting. I didn't want to bump into this box, let alone I was a little intimidated, right? But I started asking questions and all the, things that you do. And I've got to be honest with you, I was doing a crappy job. But I was just asking, hey, if you're here, you can touch my arm, stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, I felt an energy. It was like a low level electricity. Now, a friend of mine, Katie Stafford, who's on a show called Ghosts of Morgan City. He's the paranormal mad scientist. He creates a lot of ghost hunting equipment, and he's shipping me some stuff. In fact, I think he shipped it yesterday. It's going to be some really cool stuff he sent me. But what he says, it's a high level of energy with a very low ampage is what's coming from these things. And hey, look, he got outside of me a little bit there, but what I felt was throughout my entire body an electrical current, and I felt whatever it was massive, standing above me, behind me, checking me out, up and down. And I could sense that that's what it was doing. It was checking me out thoroughly. And I'm talking into my camera saying, "My gosh, it's here. I can feel it. Holy smokes." And Zach comes busting through the door, and what are you feeling? I told him, "I'm feeling this energy. It's amazing." And he closes the door on me, and I'm like, "Oh, gee, okay, here it goes again." Right. And then after a couple minutes, it happened again. But there was something that happened that I didn't say. And I also saw a huge shadow. And you remember, it's pitch dark in there. And I saw a huge shadow go off to my left-hand side. And it was just massive. But before the shadow, I felt the energy again. And I called Zach, and Zach comes back in again. And he says, when I told him what happened, and he's all excited, "That's the same thing that happened to so-and-so, blah, blah, blah." So that was that. And then he turned on the light switch, and we talked about the box for a minute. And that was the end of that experience. But the one thing I didn't say was that during that period, I felt like a needle poking into my heart. I felt it very sharp, and I didn't. And I have one rule, and I say this, and people think I'm kidding sometimes, but I'm not kidding at all. And that is, never let them see you sweat. Okay? Because the minute you do is when they're going to take advantage of you. So, and I live by that when I'm out. You see a lot of people, "Oh, my stomach, oh, all this stuff." No, I don't care if I am feeling something. I won't ever let it show.
That's an interesting way to look at it. And I know a lot of listeners are probably thinking there's got to be explanations for all this. And we'll talk about that in a second. Right now, I just want to shout out my buddies at CanYouHandleBar.com. CanYouHandleBar.com is an American-made company, and it takes care of all your facial hair needs. You need some beard balm, some mustache wax. You need a brush for your beard, a little comb for your mustache to look right, to look nice. I know during this pandemic, we probably all grew a beard, guys. And if you did, look up Can You Handlebar. They're on Instagram, they're on Twitter, or you can even go to CanYouHandleBar.com. Take a look at everything they got. They got something for you if you have facial hair and you want to make it look pretty, want to make it look nice and put together. I know a lot of our hairs grow out kind of bushy. There's stuff for that too. So go to CanYouHandleBar.com, use my promo code DNC Digital at checkout and get 15% off. Now, Greg, so when we look at the episode of Ghost Adventures and then you talk about the Dybbuk box, you talk about that energy that you felt. In the episode, you see that you kind of get frozen in front of the mirror. And you tell yourself that there's a riptide feeling that makes you want to pull inside. Now, you're in a type of environment that promotes that kind of response. Is it a possibility that this is just your imagination or anxiety working against you?
Well, here's the thing. In front of the mirror, you got to wonder, okay? At that point, it's like, okay, could this just be you're all worked up? Both you guys are just all worked up. And that's one thing. But then the Dybbuk box, Dybbuk, however you want to call it, that was a whole different kind of experience. You know, it was completely different. And I'll tell you, the way I have to describe what I met in there, it was majestic. It was magnificent, and it was a monster. And it cared very little about me. It was far beyond me, far beyond what was in that room with that box. And that was a totally different experience. It's like when I was with Peggy the doll. That was a different experience. I could put that in line with like, your mind playing tricks with you. Like with Peggy, because she was moving, and I kept asking, hey, does this doll move? And they came in and said, no, that doll doesn't move. And I said, no, this doll moves. But that could have been, could that be something you could certainly say, yeah, that's just in your head, and it could have been. And that's always the one thing that happened there that I said, I wonder, okay, but then when we were in the Oddfellows skeleton room, whatever you want to call it, coffin room, that was a whole different experience again. Could they have been doing something to trick? Maybe, but there's no. But why would they put themselves at risk like that? They're trying to be a credible show, and I'm telling you, in that room with those skeletons, whatever that thing was in there, and David Cook. Okay, now I looked up David Cook, and I studied David Cook, and there was a David Cook that passed away and was buried in one of the Oddfellows cemeteries, okay, and in that very year that they said, and like 59 or whatever it was, and it wasn't a guy though, it was a woman, and her name was Hattie David Cook. Last race was a surname. So, but it was David Cook, and I found that to be interesting. This is research I did on my own, but in that room. That girl was being tormented by something, okay? They started out having this little flirting experience with her, right? She's playing the piano and doing different things, and she's telling us, oh, I love you, David. I love you, David. And I'm telling you right now, the thing was giving intelligent answers that say love. If we asked it a question, it would answer correctly or intelligently, I should say, whether correctly or not. For instance, you don't seem to want the guys in this room. You just want Alex here. Do you want the guys to leave? Leave, it said.
Wow.
There were a number of questions that were answered by this thing. And I'm thinking to myself, even then, is it possible these guys are feeding some words into this thing? And I just think to myself, there's no way. And I looked at those guys and I said, this thing is giving us intelligent answers. Are you kidding me? I was blown away. And
so that brings me to this next question. And I've been trying to dance around it because I know there may be paperwork that's against this type of question. And I'm not gonna dive into it too much, but it sounds like with your experience, you still had a little bit of skepticism walking into this episode. Now, if you were to hook up with a fellow paranormal investigator, they're like, hey, this house, this family is having trouble with this house, so we go. But it's not being filmed. It's not on a TV channel. There's no ratings involved. There's no TV contracts involved. It's not a charismatic host. Without saying too much, because on shows like talk shows, they tell the crowd to cheer loudly when the guest comes out and stuff. Did you feel that maybe your portrayal on the episode was going to be manipulated to make it quote unquote good TV?
Okay, so if you notice, they had me when I walked up to that one clown mannequin, and I said, "Are you the one?"
Yes. Yeah.
I was joking. I was just making a joke.
But they played it. They played up the irony because of your picture.
Like I was, in some trance or something.
Yes.
And then, that clown jumping out, that was pretty freaking crazy. And I even knew it was there somewhere, but it was still so crazy. But, they followed a narrative, okay? And the narrative they followed was with the Bela Lugosi mirror and mainly the Oddfellow room. There were other things that happened that were crazy. I had my ass grabbed outside of that Oddfellows room. Okay?
Very flattering.
Listen, man, I'm talking, it grabbed my left cheek. Okay? And I'll tell you, and here's the weird thing about it. There was another experience, too, just like this. It's crazy. I said, when we were outside taking promo pictures, okay, I said, I made a joke, and I said, hey, I hope one of these things doesn't grab my ass in there.
Wow.
Those guys could collaborate that. It's even got to be on film that I said that.
Yeah.
And then one of the guys made a joke. He pinched me right below my cheek and said, you don't have to worry about the ghosts for that, right? Joking. And everybody laughed, right?
Yeah.
Well, dude, it happened in there. And they could all say, they could even say, well, Greg could have been making that up, okay? And that's fine. Say that. But, and obviously that didn't make the episode either. But something, sure as shit, grabbed my left ass cheek.
Just a good handful.
Nice handful. It was a nice handful. And we made a joke, right? I said that, and Zach looks at his guy, Billy Tolley, and he says, Billy, did you just grab Greg's ass? And Billy says, I did not grab Greg's ass. And I said, Billy?
It sounds like they're a great group of guys. How was it hanging out with these, like I said, these charismatic hosts, Zach Bagans?
Yeah, they were all very good guys. But, the whole crew were just really down-to-earth great people, Aaron's a little wiry. Billy and Jay are a little more quiet, and Zach is very, flamboyant. They were all good guys, And like I said, all the cameramen, everybody else, and Dakota Layden, who's on a show now too of his own. He was a winner of a first contest that they had, and he was there too, filming and good guy, quiet. And I think everybody there follows, Zach's lead. He's the, he's the leader of the band. But I would say it was a good experience. There are things I can't talk about, right?
Right.
But if you were but I can say honestly, I don't have any bad things to say about any of those guys. I really only have good things to say. There was one odd thing, but it doesn't, but it's not something that reflects against one of those guys per se,
Yeah. So being a paranormal investigator yourself, I feel like the first question somebody would ask you is like, why are these spirits? I've had people who I've lost in my life. So how come I haven't seen them? Why is it other spirits that are showing themselves to people? That woman in the back of the classroom. I can say, though, the night after my grandfather passed away, excuse me, in Hispanic families, there's usually a wake at the house. So all the aunts come over and start cooking for everybody to accommodate everybody and take care of the bereaved, So I remember saying, all the cousins were bunking up. I remember saying, like, hey, I need a blanket. My grandmother handed me a blanket. She kind of looked at it, and she's like, oh. I was like, whoa, what's wrong? She's like, that was the blanket your grandfather passed away in. And so I was like, I'm too tired to worry about all that right now. Like, if this is the blanket he passed away in, whatever. So I sit in bed, and I pull it over me. And I look up to say something to my cousin, and I see my grandfather just walk into the other room. Wow. I hop up, and I'm like, what the hell? And I start, breathing pretty crazy, and I'm getting anxiety. And they're like, what happened? I'm like, I saw him walk into the other room right there. They're like, oh, it's okay. You're emotional and you're tired. I'm like, no, I don't care. And to this day, I will still believe that I saw him walk into the other room. Another thing, and like you say, that there's this energy that comes out of nowhere. So I used to sleep with the TV on, and something woke me up at 3:00, and I look up, and it's a music video to a song called "Smile" by Uncle Kracker. It's a nice little song. I'm not sure if it's very popular, but it could have been any song. And this was the night after my grandmother passed away. So it could have been any song, and I would have associated that song that I woke up to her. But the second verse, it goes, even when you're gone, somehow you come along like a flower poking through the sidewalk crack. And my grandmother's name was Rose, Rosa in the Spanish. And the whole flower line kind of made me feel like she woke me up, and the song is nice, so think of me. And there have been so many experiences. Another one, this is the last story. I woke up in the middle of the night, and my kid was watching TV, just laughing. I don't know what she was watching. I used my left hand to just push her down on bed, and I'm like, go to bed, whatever. I turned to my right, and I turned back to laying on my back, and I feel a hand that's bigger than my ex-wife's. My wife at the time was bigger than her hand, and it was a little cool. I feel the hand pull my arm and put my arm around my daughter. And I thought the entire time I had my eyes closed, I'm thinking it's her. But I opened my eyes, and my wife at the time is completely asleep. And so I asked her the next morning, like, did you do this with Estelle? And did you pull my arm? She's like, no. I'm like, no, somebody pulled my arm. So why is it that these spirits pop up in these certain times? Is it a family member that they want to visit, or is it the whole unfinished business that the popular theory is?
Yeah. And, it's interesting because when my grandfather died, my uncle Forrest and my Aunt Jean, they were driving to the funeral, and his phone rang. And my aunt answers the phone, and she heard him saying, Forrest, is that you? Forrest. And she'll swear to you this day, that was my grandfather's voice in that friggin' phone. And back then, I wasn't so in tuned into this stuff. back then, and I was even poo-pooing it. I was saying, "Oh, come on, Gene, that couldn't happen." But now it's like son of a gun. I know that experience now, and so here's where this gets a little bit controversial.
Okay.
What is it out there? What are these spirits that visit us? Are they your grandpa? Are they another family member? I don't think that they are directly. I think in a way that they are, but I believe that they are generally in another place, a better place. And but I believe messages can be sent, via, for instance, angelic figures, okay, to calm the hearts of the loved ones, and when you talk about hauntings, I believe, and a lot of the things like I've experienced, I believe that they are one of two things, actually one of three things. They can be angelic, they can be demonic, or they can be something that is a sub-level of demon. And if you, I'm going to dive into something here a little bit. If you, in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, it talks about these figures called the Nephilim, okay, or the Rahim, okay, and they were giants. They were magnificent men, brilliantly smart, strong warriors, magical, whatever, and they were the sons of man, which were the fallen angels, saw the human woman as good. I can't blame them. Mm-hmm. And they basically bred with the human women and created these things, these superhumans, okay? And this is all pre-flood, Noah's flood, you've heard of all that stuff, and which wiped everything out. And there was a specific reason for that flood, because evil got to a point where it was just way out of control, and that's why that happened, to squash out all that evil. And Noah and his family were the only ones spared to repopulate the earth. But anyway, that said, here's something that I learned that night when I was in the room with the Dybbuk box. Okay, that was a demon. Okay. That was something majestic. That was something far beyond what I am, okay? That was something that had very little concern for me, okay? It knew me because of my history, right? So it gave me a shake, It took a peek at me, it let me know it was there. And it visited me one more time, which you'll have to read my book to hear that.
Nice plug.
Yeah, but there's a difference. And here's what I'm going to tell you. The things that come at us, the things that pester us, that try to intimidate, possess, connect onto, I believe that there's something different. I believe those are the souls of these Nephilim, these Rahim. And here's why. Because the Bible, if you believe in the Bible, I'm just saying, okay? The Bible is very specific what happens to our souls when we die.
Yes.
Okay? And it's very specific. There is no place for them. They're half God, half man. Their souls are different. And I believe that those are the things that roam this earth. And the reason that they pester people is because, and the reason I believe demons don't pester people, okay, is demons have never had a body. They can give a hoot about our body, okay? They're way better than our body. But the Nephilim, they had a body, and they loved their body. And I believe they want their body back. They want a body back.
Oh, wow.
So I believe that they are the ones that try to get
Possess.
into it. Yeah. Get in, they want it back. And that's my theory about that. And there will be a lot of controversy about that when my book comes out, because I'm going to address that extremely.
Well, yeah, like you said in the beginning, though, you have to keep an open mind to this. I mean, there is no one who can prove what happens. So, I mean, like myself, there's no proof. There's no proof that, nobody's gone to the, died and came back after, hey, there is a heaven, or, you are a ghost, or there's no proof. So I do keep an open mind to all of this. I do want to talk about your upcoming book, though. Night at the Haunted Museum. Go ahead and tell us what it's about, and when it's coming out, and how somebody can pick one up.
Well, okay. Well, when it's coming out, as soon as people keep lighting fires under my ass, we'll get it out. I've got to hurry up, man. I'm not kidding you. So hopefully it'll be out before the end of the year.
Okay.
And it is about my experience. It's centered around my Ghost Adventures experience, okay? But it's icinged by all of my experiences before and that have happened after that. Because remember, I went into from a kid to a paranormal enthusiast to a guy with very specific encounters, to a guy, to now a guy who's, presenting myself as some form of knowledgeable person in the field. And here's the funny thing, because like what you said, there's no such thing as an expert in the paranormal. How is there an expert in the paranormal? What makes a person an expert? Okay, that's like Bigfoot. Okay, oh, you're a Bigfoot expert, huh? Well, what makes you a Bigfoot expert? We don't even know if there's one out there. All right?
Right.
I mean, I love Bigfoot. If I turn my camera right now, I'll show you something, just so you can see it. You might get a kick out of it. This will be going up on my wall in a minute. Do you see him?
Wow. You're gonna need to send me a picture of that guy so I can put it up for the video.
All right. He just came yesterday. A guy, an artist, made that for me. He's an awesome dude. Jeff Irwin's his name, and he made that for me. And it's going to go up. But anyway, yeah, I'm more of a Bigfoot enthusiast. I get a kick out of it. But anyway, there's no expert.
Well, the subject is big. Okay, while we're on the subject, what do you think of the theory that Bigfoot is a species, and all the Bigfoot sightings are different animals of said species?
I think I don't even know what to tell you. I think I want to believe that there is an animal, okay, semi-intelligent out there, very, very rare creature that roams the earth, and there's a lot of sightings. There aren't any really. The problem is there's not a lot of good footage,
Just the one.
And there's others, but the thing is, it's like, and it's hard to say, okay, you're going to have your camera ready or something in that instance anyway. But,
right.
I've gone squatch hunting, and it's always eerie. You just don't know what's going on around you. But anyway, the romantic side of me wants to believe that those dudes are out there. Cool. That would be awesome,
No, awesome. I'm just such a, unless you can prove it wrong, I'll believe in it kind of guy.
Yeah. And it's like this. I haven't seen one, but I have felt, I guess is the best word, and physically seen things that tell me that there is there is a spirit world that is communicating with us. So though I can't verify with you about the big man, Sasquatch, right, okay, I can say emphatically that yeah, there is a spirit world out there, and we have to be very careful, because I do believe it is far more sinister than people give it. There's evil out there, okay, and yeah, there's good that fights against that evil, but I'm just telling you, there's evil out there, and you have a lot of young people out there delving into this stuff and communicating with things that I believe want to trick them. And that's part of what my book's going to be about as well.
When you talk about, it's a callback to when you told me don't let them see you sweat. You kept it cool throughout all your experiences. You calmed your wife down and just kind of listened for any kind of sound at that hotel room. Was there a moment, or can you think back to an experience that you did start to sweat?
When I was visited the second time, I got pissed. Okay? I didn't have fear, but I was mad. Okay? And I did not back down to the challenge that I felt was being presented to me. And again, I got to hold off on that. But there's something to that experience that when you read it, it'll blow you away. Because everything, there are so many coincidences, so many things that tie things together in my experience that will come back and really be very critical towards Zach's museum, okay? And I don't necessarily really want to be that way, because I like the dude. But the way this plays out comes, boom, right back to that spot. And that'll all get unfolded in my book, Night at the Haunted Museum.
Sounds like an awesome book. Can you tell everybody where to find you on social media so they can look out for this book?
Yeah, right now, mainly my focus is at Instagram, and it's at Ghost Inspector Greg, and post a lot of ghost type stories, a lot of romantic type ghost stories, and if death is romantic, it's just some really neat stuff. Trust me, I have a great deal of female followers that love my stories too. At Ghost Inspector Greg, and my ghostinspectorgreg.com will be fired up pretty soon, and all that's going to be ready when the book's out, so that people can go to my site to see that as well. So, but yeah, Instagram's the main place for me. Facebook, you can find me there, but you won't ever see me post anything there. I just don't. Instagram's the thing for me.
Mr. Greg Ludwig, thank you so much for doing the show. Much appreciated. Ghost Inspector Greg. If you want to look him up on Ghost Adventures, you look up Ghost Adventures, Annabelle's Curse, and he's on that episode. And you can watch all the experiences he just spoke about with the coffin room and with the Bela Lugosi mirror. The name of the book is Night at the Haunted Museum. So make sure you look out for that. Look out for that by following Ghost Inspector Greg on Instagram. This has been such a cool episode for me. And there's a million questions I want to ask this guy, but we don't have a lot of time. So if you have any questions, follow him. Follow the guy, Ghost Inspector Greg, on Instagram and shoot him a message and see what can happen. But definitely look out for the book. I'm definitely going to buy one when it comes out. This is D. You can follow me at DNC Digital on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I want to thank you guys so much for listening. Hit it with a like, comment, subscribe, and hit that post notification bell so you can see whenever a new interview pops up. For Ghost Inspector Greg, this is D. You guys have a good day. going on, everybody? It's your boy D from DNC Digital, back with another episode of DNC Radio. I want to thank you guys for listening. I want to thank you guys for being here with me. This episode is going to be cool, man, because ever since I was a kid, I strongly believed in all the paranormal. And I'm sure a lot of people out there do. Most of the people out there, I feel,